This time, I'd like to introduce a topic that once again highlights the clear impact of the anti-Japanese education that the Chinese Communist Party has persistently promoted. Take a look at this recent example. The final qualifiers for the Soccer World Cup were held in Fujian Province, China. Even the decision to hold this event in China has raised eyebrows. Many are questioning whether China is even at the level to participate in the World Cup. Setting aside soccer for a moment, one might think there are other more fundamental issues to address. By the end of this video, you'll probably reach the same conclusion. Anyway, the match in question was between Japan and China, and things turned outrageous. During the game, there were incidents where laser pointers were aimed at the eyes of Japanese players. While this has occasionally happened in foreign matches before, such cases usually have specific backgrounds. In many countries, soccer gambling is legal or semi-legal, and money is often at stake. It's known that individuals willing to abandon morals for money use laser pointers in such contexts. But this isn't the reason behind the Chinese actions. The motive here is simply anti-Japanese sentiment. In China, gambling is prohibited. While illegal casinos exist, they typically revolve around games like baccarat or other types of underground gambling. Sports gambling is complex to manage and doesn't have much presence in China. Thus, the laser pointer attacks by Chinese fans weren't about money or personal gain, they were driven purely by hatred for Japan. And this hatred stems from the Chinese government's policies, specifically the strategies of the Communist Party. It begs the question, is China even qualified to host international matches? From a Japanese perspective, it's clearly absurd to hold games in China. However, even people from other countries watching these incidents must be wondering what's going on in China. But that's not all. This case gained widespread attention on social media, so many people might already be aware of it. There was someone who appeared to be a supporter wearing a Japanese team uniform at the stadium. This person, likely Chinese, had the courage to wear a Japanese uniform and attend the match. However, they were immediately surrounded by a mob accusing them of being a traitor. Eventually, they were escorted out of the stadium by a large number of police officers after being forced to remove the uniform. Videos of this scene were uploaded online. Naturally, Japanese and others alike are questioning what is going on in China. For those familiar with China, this isn't surprising. The country mass-produces people with hostility toward Japan as part of its national strategy. In any normal country, cheering for the Japanese team would be unremarkable, but in China, it's extremely dangerous. Knowing this, it's puzzling why this person decided to go alone. Judging by their appearance and behavior, they were likely Chinese, and one possibility is that they were a genuine soccer fan. Hardcore soccer fans might want to support Japan, recognizing the potential for Japan to advance and even win globally. In contrast, the Chinese sports world is plagued by corruption, and this is one of the reasons the teams don't perform well. People deeply familiar with the situation might find it hard to support the Chinese team. Supporting Japan could even be seen as a protest or dissatisfaction with the corrupt administration of sports in China. Still, this kind of action is incredibly dangerous. In China, even wearing a kimono can lead to violent attacks. So for someone to enter a stadium alone wearing a Japanese uniform is an incredibly risky act, far more dangerous than, say, a Giants fan walking into an Osaka pub. Predictably, a massive police presence was required to handle the situation. Incidents like this highlight how sports in China are heavily influenced by politics. The Olympic ideal of sports fostering peace, where athletes from opposing nations compete fairly on the field, simply doesn't apply in China. As a host of international sports events, China lacks the qualifications. But the troubles didn't end there. Around the stadium, people were burning Japanese flags. Some were hurling stones at buses carrying Japanese players. One can't help but question whether these people came to watch sports or engage in political demonstrations. Such actions underscore how dangerous it is for Japanese people to travel to China. Japan's media should report on these incidents properly. Their failure to do so endangers Japanese citizens. Moreover, there are individuals within Japanese politics who align with the Chinese Communist Party, enabling them to exert influence in Japan. This dynamic prevents proper action from being taken, and such issues continue unchecked. From solar panels being installed en masse in inappropriate areas to other dubious policies, these outcomes stem from the influence of certain politicians and media figures in Japan who are complicit with China. The root issue is that many within Japan align themselves with those who harbor hostility toward the country, and this problem must be addressed. While confronting the Communist Party directly may be difficult, Japan must counter the lies perpetuated by the party, such as inflated historical narratives. Equally, weakening the influence of those within Japan who act as the party's proxies is crucial. Japanese people are beginning to see through the dishonesty of the media, which often serves vested interests. As public awareness grows, there's hope that competent politicians will be chosen and proper action will be taken. The Chinese Communist Party, on the other hand, seems to be trying to influence Japan's politics by strategically granting visa exemptions. In these tense times of heightened global tensions, particularly with U.S. China relations worsening, Japan must tread carefully. Aligning too closely with China risks creating friction with the U.S. It's critical for Japanese politicians and media to act in the country's interest rather than being swayed by foreign influence. To wrap up, I believe the media won't change of its own accord. Instead, its power needs to wane as people increasingly recognize its flaws. This recognition is essential for Japan's safety and autonomy moving forward.